Greetings and salutations. Hello, how are you? Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa. My name is Jake Query, that is...
Hi, I'm Derek Schultz. Happy Holidays, guys.
And this is Query and Schultz on the ISC Sports Network. And Derek, here's the good news. The good news is the holiday time is upon us, right? Mm-hmm. We're into the home stretch. You've done your advent calendars. You've had all your candy. You have lit in the menorah. You have gotten ready for Kwanzaa. You're getting ready for Christmas. Lit, I should say, not lit in the menorah. Lit the menorah.
I think it's lightened.
Lightened. That's
yes.
Also
lightening.
Is
lightened the candle. Littened.
You lit the candle, right?
I guess you're right. Yeah.
But I guess lightened sounds. But
it
lightened
sounds ridiculous. No,
lightened
I think
is what you do
wrong.
when you, because you a lot of times when you send out pictures, you do the filters, right?
Oh, I thought you meant lightened like lightened.
No, well that too.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Go ahead. What were you going to say? Like Happy Holidays? Yeah, we're going to do that.
The good news is that it is holiday time, regardless of whichever holiday you celebrate. And the better news is that gives us something to talk about other than the weekend of sports in Indiana.
Oh God, yeah. 'Twas rough.
There were three. Purdue beat Alabama. It's a good win.
And that was a really fun back and forth type game.
And Alabama's, despite the they're
Alabama's
good. Pretty good. Yeah.
They're good.
The Fever potentially could get Caitlin Clark. What are you doing?
Little CC.
What was that?
Little CC. I'm doing my happy dance.
No, but you look ridiculous when you do that.
It's just a happy dance.
But you're biting your lip. You look constipated.
I'm not biting my lip. I'm just dancing.
No. You bit your lip. For sure. You went like this. You look like a beaver.
It's just have you ever danced before? We've talked about this. You don't dance, right? I dance. No, and when you dance...
Yeah, there you go again. You're doing
like variations of dancing.
You don't know that you're doing the white man overbite, but you're doing it.
No,
you look like Billy Crystal.
It's called dancing.
Sally.
It's called dancing.
Okay. So that was good news number 2.
Yeah.
Was Caitlin Clark possibly? You think she's going to return to Iowa? I don't understand this, Derek. There were a lot of people that were like, Caitlin Clark, the phenomenal breakthrough, transcendent talent at guard for the Iowa Hawkeyes, has a year of eligibility beyond this season. But she is the presumptive number 1 pick in the WNBA draft. The Fever have won the right to select number 1 overall. But people are like, yeah, but she's going to stay in Iowa because she'd make more money. And I'm like, I don't dispute that she makes huge NIL money, notably from Hy-Vee, the grocery store chain in Iowa, but like Damon Bailey, if he had been drafted by, the San Antonio Spurs, still would have had plenty of opportunity to do like Ogle Tucker car ads in Indiana. I mean, he's still a legend.
Marshes still probably would have wanted him on one of their ads, right?
I mean, I would think that it would only increase the amount of revenue she could get.
And it's a decent proximity. I mean, Indianapolis is one of the closest markets to Iowa City.
I looked it up. It's her hometown of, I believe is she from Cedar Rapids, Iowa? She's from Iowa.
Okay.
The Indiana Fever, the third closest market for her. There are only two that get her closer.
This. Chicago Sky and Minnesota.
Correct.
Right, links.
Yeah, that's it.
We talked about
that's
that.
It.
Yeah, before the show.
And those two probably are not going to have a chance to get the number 1 pick, right?
Also, for whatever it's worth, her boyfriend is Fran McCaffrey's son and is a low-level staffer with the Pacers.
You can just say staffer. You don't have to say
well, entry-level staffer. I mean, he just left Iowa. He was Connor is his name, Connor McCaffrey.
That helps, right?
I would think. She's got to make her own decision. Leave
that
boys
organization
out of it.
has to be like, do not break up with her at least until she makes her decision, right? just don't do it. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if like a week before she makes her decision, he's like, we are done. They're going to be like, what are you doing?
Rick Fusen called in Connor into the office and said, it's really important for Pacer Sports and Entertainment, Connor, that you stay dating Caitlin. No, I mean, she's going to make, all kidding aside, she's going to make the decision that makes the most sense for her. I think if Iowa wins it this year, she absolutely comes out. But I think another factor that we're not talking about, people want to talk about NIL in Iowa, Aaliyah Boston.
Yeah.
You could pair yourself with Aaliyah Boston and really begin like a dynasty-level franchise. I'm not trying to go overboard here. Like Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark can be the 2 best players in this league.
No doubt.
And so I think that's the other attractive thing about potentially coming in.
But it is a fun thing and fun for that franchise that needs like kind of a jolt because it would be big. I mean, it would be a big deal.
They've been bad for a long time. So I think last year was the first step forward for them. And now they're going to get back to being the Indiana Fever that we enjoy and maybe reach even new heights.
Yeah, it would be fun.
That's cool that we led Caitlin Clark. All right. Yeah.
Now
it's a great story.
The other franchise within that organization is that of the Pacers, which had Derek. I'm a cynic, right? You know this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm cynical about things, and I like to, for whatever reason, when people all buy into something like that, that's like a turnoff to me. I don't know why, but
You hate fun.
I don't hate fun. No,
you hate fun.
I like my own fun.
You like fun if you thought of it and you think it's fun, but you hate what other people think is fun. That's how I would say it.
I'm not a sheep.
I love you. You're one of my best friends. You hate fun, and you hate when other people have fun. You like to have fun,
Wait a minute.
but you hate when other people have fun.
Wait. I'd rather you not say that you love me and that I'm one of your best friends.
But I do.
Okay, well.
I love you, and you're one, and we love each other. Like we're
Yeah,
best
okay.
buds. Okay, it's like a deep friendship, love.
By the way, I applied for the Amazing Race.
Mm-hmm. Well, are we talking Pacers or what? Are we?
No, we'll do that in a second. The Amazing Race, right?
Yeah, this show is
right?
already blah 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 blah.
You've seen the Amazing Race.
Yes, I've seen the Amazing Race, of course.
So the Amazing Race teams of two, and they've done everything through the gauntlet, right?
Yeah.
They've had like the married couple, or they had two twins that found out that were biological twins. They both got adopted.
Found each other 40 years later or whatever. Yep, sure.
They've done every possible scenario you can think of. So I thought, you know what? I'd love to go on the Amazing Race because I'd like to see the world and do all the challenges and do fun things. What person that if I put them down as my teammate would give me the best chance of being a unique and organic, we like that phrase, unique and organic, like, team that would best give me the chance to be selected for the Amazing Race. So I applied. There you go.
And you put me down.
I did not.
Well, if you want a mix of smarts and athleticism, I would be that person.
One of the challenges they did on the most recent one, for example, skydiving.
Oh, yeah, no, I definitely wouldn't do that. Yeah, no skydiving.
Okay.
No.
Well, then guess what?
Yeah.
I'd
No, I
weed
would
you
not
out.
do, no,
But
not jumping out of
not a
planes.
teammate. Bungee jumping?
No, nothing with heights.
Well, then you are absolutely
Nothing with heights.
You would be the worst teammate ever.
Yeah. No.
Memorization skills?
I'm really bad at that.
Yeah.
Stuff kind of flies
A couple
out.
of like running challenges?
Oh, I hate to run because I was a smoker for a long time. So no running.
So
no
see-
running, no planes, no heights, no memorization. I can do pretty much anything else.
Are you bilingual?
Pretty much, I'm not bilingual at all.
Okay.
No.
So
not
Dr.
bilingual.
Mottman and I applied as a team together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'd be great.
Yeah,
He'd be great.
it's great to hear how great Ben is. Yeah.
That's right. So the thing about the
Everything's about Ben.
in-season tournament, Derek, I was a cynic. I thought it was cheesy. I thought it was hokey. I didn't understand it. And then the Pacers got into the semifinals, and I'm like, okay, I can understand this. 4 teams go to Vegas. And the different colored floor, the different colored floor was genius for this fact. And the NCAA tournament should probably take note of this. When you walk past, if you're at a sports bar and you look up at a game and you could see by the painting on the floor, it was unique. Like, why is Atlanta playing on a floor that's painted like that? Oh, because it's a tournament game.
Oh, yeah, good point. I hadn't thought about it.
You know what I mean?
That. Yeah.
And the in-season tournament in Vegas with the red and the blue floor, you knew when you saw it, like that was your indicator to your eye. This is a non-regular season game. The in-season tournament was a home run. It was an absolute home run because, and I don't know, Derek, maybe it's just because we're in Indianapolis and the Pacers were in the final, but it felt like, I mean, literally people were saying, like, what are you doing Saturday for the game?
Yeah.
I mean,
It was appointment viewing.
It was. It reminded me of the old, like, Pacers-Knicks playoff series where, like, the entire city stopped and paused to see what was happening. People were excited.
Yeah.
They were bought in. It was very cool. It was very fun. There was one drawback, and only one drawback.
What's that?
The drawback was so the in-season tournament games until the semifinals go against your regular season record.
Yeah.
As you advanced in the in-season tournament, the games got harder. So if you won games, so in other words, for the Pacers, now granted they won them, so it doesn't matter, right? But for the Pacers, their 2 additional games were against Milwaukee and Boston.
Yeah. You have to play the Celtics 5 times this year. And Milwaukee 5 times.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas if you had lost early to, say, Cleveland or whatever in the in-season tournament, then you're getting like Detroit and New York additional times. And so at the end of the year, what I'm curious about is at the end of the season, if the Pacers are tied for the 6th seed with Cleveland, wouldn't it have better served Indiana to have played Detroit and New York in the in-season tournament twice than playing Boston or?
Well, I heard something else. Rick Carlisle was on your old show, The Morning Show, with Kevin and Andy, and he said the contingency plan was if they would have lost to Boston, that game in Indiana, that was a great game that sent them to Vegas, they would have had to fly to New York and then played New York on Wednesday night, and New York was coming off a Tuesday night game, so it would have been a back-to-back for New York. It would have been a quick turnaround for the Pacers, and it's just the scheduling ended up working itself out.
Instead, New York lost, so they had to
played Boston. Yeah,
that's right.
New York played Boston on Friday.
No, they played Milwaukee.
No, but they lost to Milwaukee, so they had to play Boston because the winners played the winners.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Pacers played the Bucks, and then the Knicks played the Celtics. So there were all kinds of potential snares that the NBA could have been trapped by, and luckily because the Pacers kept winning, it didn't work out that way.
Yeah, but it was super fun. It was cool. The best thing about it, Derek, is it gave.
Oh, sorry about that. I don't know why I have a timer on.
How long have we done a show together?
Oh, okay. See, I set it for the wrong thing. Okay, hold on. Let me do this. All right, there we go. 3, 2, 1. Go ahead. We'll get that in post. No big deal.
We don't have a post.
I meant to set a timer to start the show, and it was supposed to be for an hour, but I hit it for 10 minutes instead.
We're like the Pacers when Miles Turner is out with foul trouble. We don't have a post,
okay,
right?
Well, go ahead.
So
we do have a post.
The good news for Indiana, you can play 165 regular season games. You can play 300 regular season games. The playoffs are a different animal, and things change when you get to the playoffs. And defenses ramp up when you get to the playoffs, and it's harder to fight through screens, and it's harder to reverse the ball and move the ball around. There are a lot of things. Indiana is a wonderful offensive basketball team. There is no doubt about it. Their defense has a long way to go. And one of the things I think that Indiana, that young players, Tyrese Halliburton, Aaron Nesmith, Andrew Nembhard, Isaiah Jackson, one of the things that those guys need to learn as part of their natural progression is the fact that playoff basketball is 10% different, 10% faster, 10% more physical. This gives you that opportunity to see that, Derek, because Los Angeles had veteran players, LeBron James, Anthony Davis. Those guys were able to turn up that wick, and it gave Indiana a taste of that, which is only going to serve them even better. You don't have to wait till April now and learn in the process of a 7-game series. You now know going into it what the situation is, and that's good news for Indiana.
Yeah, and stakes. Something with stakes too is important for them to play. You're right. It's you can never take a December tournament and make it mean what the Eastern Conference Finals means, right? I mean, players know the difference there. But I think it was very important. I agree, I wholeheartedly agree, that it was very important for the Pacers to play meaningful basketball. I don't know how this tournament resonated in Charlotte or in Cleveland or teams that were out of it, Atlanta, teams that were out of it early. But I think the spirit of it was to have Indiana and New Orleans and teams like that have a stage,
right,
where there's a national broadcast and they're actually talking about these teams. I think that's what Adam Silver, a lot of people were saying, well, they wanted it to be Lakers-Knicks. Would it have been nice to be Lakers? Sure, but I think the true spirit of the in-season tournament was to make it meaningful for re-engaged fan bases, right? Whereas a December Monday night game against the Bucks, even against a great team, even against Giannis, I'm probably not stopping what I'm doing to watch the Pacers play the Bucks on December 9th.
In the sports calendar, in the American sports culture calendar, the NBA season starts on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
For most people.
Yeah, I agree.
For the Jake Query and Derek Schultz that grew up in Council Bluffs, Iowa, the NBA, they first start thinking about it at Christmas time when the NBA season or the NFL
football's
season
fading out.
down.
Yeah.
And this all of a sudden gave people we were in Milwaukee on Saturday night. Obviously a previously arranged trip. And so we were in Milwaukee sitting there having dinner in a sports bar, and on the televisions was the pregame for the in-season tournament championship. Now, that's a market, of course, in Milwaukee that has a lot of NBA interest. But still, the Bucks weren't in it.
Yeah.
And people were paying attention to it. So, in that regard, home run from the NBA.
Yeah, the Pacers and Tyrese Halliburton were the biggest star, and they didn't even win it. And they were the biggest star. That I am sad that we didn't get our IST parade, though. I would have loved them to bring out the cup and be able to touch the cup and have the cup here in Indy.
The hat.
Someday we'll get that cup.
It would have been cool to get a hat.
Lakers are raising a banner for it.
Are they?
Do you hear that? Yeah. They're going to add to it. It's like the Indiana Big Ten Championships banner at Assembly Hall. They're just going to add to it as they go.
Now,
but yeah, there is going to be a banner. And it's the freaking Lakers. They don't need any banners. They're the Lakers.
I thought about this, Derek. I thought about this. Like Indiana in 2002 went to the finals of the Big Ten tournament, right?
Yeah. No, semis. They lost to Luke Recker.
Or semis. Have they ever been to the finals?
Yeah, they lost in 2001 to Illinois.
That's what
the year before.
That's what I'm thinking of. So, and that would have been year, like 3 or 4 of the Big Ten tournament?
Yeah, I think it started in 98.
And have they been back since?
No. They've been to the semis a couple of times.
Because that's the thing, you think about it and you're like, man, to get that close, you might as well just win it because you never know when you're going back, right?
It's hard. It's hard to rip off. Pacers ripped off 6 straight wins.
Yeah,
and they beat good teams.
It's impressive.
They went to Atlanta and they won. They beat Milwaukee. They beat Boston. They won at Philadelphia. It was really impressive, the run that they had. Are you changing your expectations for them? Because I'm not. Because I hear people asking that question.
I think this increases your odds of winning the opening round.
Yeah.
Because you just have a better taste of what you got to do.
But does your outlook for the Pacers change because of what they did in the in-season tournament?
No, I think my outlook for them, I think my optimism stays the same. I don't think that anybody thought that they were going to, nobody thought because of this that means they're going to the finals.
Yeah.
Or that they're going to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Obviously, I agree there.
But I do think that it gives you a taste of the fact that they have a legitimate chance in the next 2 or 3 years of being a really serious player in the East.
Yeah. I mean, I think they can, this is a make noise year where you can maybe make some noise and ruffle some feathers. I think next year, I don't think we even have to wait 2-3 years down the line. I think next year you would expect them to be in contention to host a home playoff series.
I would agree with that. I will say, that Boston game was amazing. That game in Philly was amazing. Are they able to do that 4 times in 7 games?
Yeah, it'd be hard. I love the fact that we're taping this right now on Tuesday, that last night they came in. Detroit was the perfect letdown spot, right? Detroit stinks.
But it also had
You're on the road.
That was also the proverbial trap game, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. And they came through and they won. There's no reason to throw a parade over beating Detroit, but Ben Mathurin with a 30-piece, it was a good performance for them. Milwaukee Wednesday, Washington Friday, Minnesota Saturday as the Pacers continue this road trip. Let's get to our Hoagies and Hops. Hoagie and Hero of the Week. We usually pick a Colt. We're going to talk Colts. No Colts were heroic during Sunday's game with the Cincinnati Bengals. But before we tell you who our hero is, let's tell you about our Sando. This is the Keystone.
Sandwich.
Roast beef, provolone, shaved onion, LT, and a little horsey mayo, which I can drink on the South Jersey bread. Really, really good. We had in middle school in the cafeteria, if you didn't get the hot lunch, you could go to the deli counter and get either turkey or roast beef. And there was a woman, I'm not sure if she was like Polish or Russian or something like that, but she had a bit of an accent that was one of our lunch ladies. I'm trying to remember what her name was. And
Helga.
When you'd point, you'd say
Helga?
You'd say turkey, please, and she'd go turkey, and then you'd say roast beef. She'd go roast beef. Like that. And so every time I say roast beef now, 30 years later.
What middle school was this?
Still, Madison Middle School, the Mountain Lions. There are no mountain lions in suburban Connecticut, but that's what we ended up going with. Adam Silver.
Madison's?
Adam Silver, I think, is the hero of the week, right? Because I think this tournament accomplished what he wanted. I heard Sherwood Strauss wrote something about how, nobody was streaming the games, and so it was actually a failure. Come on, man. It's December basketball. The fact that you got any positive pub out of many December basketball games, I think is a good thing for the league, and I'm interested to see how they build upon this.
Derek, even better. How about the floral? Shannon's all about the sparkling flavored waters. Perfect for her, right? 0 calories, all the fun. What's that?
She should try this.
What?
She should try this. She liked it.
She should try it. Derek said, how do you know she hasn't? Come on now.
Well, just in case.
Made in the Midwest, right?
This is the floral. Sparkling water, but with a twist. It's got hemp botanicals in it, right? So you got a little Delta 8. You got THC, the whole deal in there. Give you a little bit of a boost. We already had this talk about legalization and all that, so I'm not going to get on my soapbox when it comes to that. But Alexis told me that this tastes like Hawaiian Punch. And it smells like Hawaiian Punch.
It does. And it's definitely sparkling.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that a lot. My grandma.
Try not to burp into the microphone.
You're older than me, so you must remember this. Do you remember when Hawaiian Punch came in a tin can?
Of course.
When it had like the little triangle? Yeah. So when we'd come out to South Bend, when my grandma, God rest her soul, was still alive, my dad's mom, Grandma Thelma. How about that for a grandma name, right? Thelma.
My aunt's name.
She had like a bomb shelter full of Hawaiian Punch cans, and obviously no other kids are coming over to the house except the one time a year my sisters and I come all the way from Connecticut to South Bend, and she'd always break out. She called it the Hawaiian juice. You kids want the Hawaiian juice? And break out the can and glug, 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 glug. Yeah. And I would drink. I'd be wired all day because I would have like 100 ounces of Hawaiian Punch while we were visiting there. But that's kind of
Is that the grandma that bought you the Jets jacket?
Yes. Vinny Testaverde jersey.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. In the late 90s. She knew that I liked the New York teams. She just picked
God
the
love
wrong. Yeah, picked the wrong New York team. But we love Grandma Thelma. We love our friends at Chili Water Brewing, 42nd and Boulevard in the tap room. Hoagies and Hops, same thing. Santa is coming Saturday, 2:30 to 5. Bring in a canned good or a non-perishable item because they're donating it to St. Vincent de Paul Food Pantry, which is right across the street at 42nd and Boulevard. They need soups, beans, veggies, fruit, Jiffy cornbread mix. Actually, I've got a whole pallet of Jiffy cornbread mix that I'm bringing over there. I got like 30 boxes. Ravioli, tuna, Spam, mac and cheese, and ramen. But a Santa visit and 10% of your food purchase goes to charity as well. Yeah, at Hoagies and Hops.
How did you get an entire pallet of Jiffy?
Looked like 50 cents a box. So I bought
50 cents a box. Jiffy, by the way, Jiffy brownie and cornbread mix. Cornbread mix, what we're talking about here. That is the family business of one Howdy Holmes, former Indianapolis 500 starter Howdy Holmes, who has the record for most starts in Indy 500 history upon a completed career without a DNF. He ran 8 Indy 500s. He completed all 8 of the races in which he started. That is an all-time record in the Indy 500.
good for Howdy Bell. No, that's the broadcaster.
Howdy Holmes.
Howdy Holmes.
Just think about what you would say to think about this. What you would say to a cowboy if you wanted to speak more in like a hip tone. Howdy Holmes.
Was there a supermodel named Heidi Holmes?
There's Heidi Klum.
Kate? No, not Katie Holmes. That was
That
Tom
sounds
Cruise.
right. No, Kate Moss.
No. Now we're no. Heidi Klum did Project Runway.
Heidi Klum is married to Seal, right?
Pack Your Knives and Go is Top Chef. What did they say for Project Runway? Get your bags and go?
Anyway, the Colts were in Cincinnati taking on the Bengals.
was a great show.
Obviously, it did not go as well as the Pacers in-season tournament up to the Los Angeles Lakers portion of it. We will get into that. And by the way, do you like my shirt, Derek?
I love it. Great shirt.
So you probably see this. They do this for all the different teams, right? Greatest of all tees, like GOAT. Mm-hmm. Greatest of all tees is the name of the company, just TS.
I think, didn't Obvious Shirts out of Chicago, did they start
If you
that
just Google
trend?
greatest of all tees, you can see all the different teams they have. Mm-hmm. But George McGinnis, wearing this today for George McGinnis, who had a health scare over the course of the week, and was certainly one of the great players, probably the second greatest Indiana high school basketball player from the city of Indianapolis, at least, all time. And in terms of totality of career, almost all of it happening in the state of Indiana, because not only did he, of course, lead Washington to the 1969 state championship at 31-0, he then went to Indiana, where, as a sophomore, he had the only 30-point-per-game scoring average in IU basketball history. Then, of course, went into the ABA, played for the Pacers, won championships, was an NBA co-MVP for the Philadelphia 76ers, returned to Indiana, retired as a Pacer, one of the great performers in basketball in this state's history, and by all account, one of the true gentle giant, absolute gentleman, George McGinnis. So we wish George McGinnis the best right now, as he had a health scare earlier this week.
Ahead of his time.
Totally.
As a player. Ahead of his time with what he could do and his body and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, he was strong, athletic. He could do basically anything that you wanted him to do on the court. We'll come back, talk about the disappointing Colts and why I'm suddenly very concerned about this finishing stretch. And I'll tell you why we come back. It's Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Hey, AC.
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Welcome back. Bailey and Wood presents Query and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network alongside Jake Query. My name is Derek Schultz. Speaking of our friends at Bailey and Wood, Jake, 855-350-HOME, BAWFG.com. Try to go slower.
Yeah, thank you.
And enunciate that a little bit better. 5-star customer service, branch locations all over the glorious state of Indiana. And Mike Wood and his team will take care of you just like they did for my wife and I. Actually, when we bought our house, it'll be 10 years ago this spring, we got our pre-approval and went through Mike and Bailey and Wood
This looks
Financial.
like a hat Neil Brown would wear.
Neil Brown's very much straight bill type guy.
He's cool hat guy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's a cool guy in general. The chef,
He
Neil
is.
Brown.
Yeah, that's that or a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
You know, every once in a while, I will get he is a big radio listener. And when I fill in, whenever that happens, I don't usually announce it outside of maybe right beforehand. Hey, guess what? I'm filling in for JMV today. I'll always get a text from him and be like, hey, I've listened today
he's a
or
great
whatever
dude.
else. Yeah.
Great dude.
Really great guy and a very talented chef as well. Let's get to the Colts, Jake. They didn't look very talented on Sunday. It was a game 34-14 that probably was even more one-sided than the final score indicated.
Yeah.
You have afternoons like that where you fail in all three phases. Offense was bad. Defense was worse, and the special teams might have been the worst of all, with the muff punt and a couple of missed kicks from Matt Gay. They were due for a stink bomb, and the vibes all week, and this is not me saying it after the fact. I tweeted it going into the game. It just didn't feel right. It felt like it was a spot where the Colts were. Now, I didn't expect them to collapse and play that poorly, but it felt like a game that they were going to lose because they were very fortunate to win the previous 4 games. That easily could have been a 2-2 stretch that they ended up going 4-0. But still, the two pillars of what have gotten them to this point are the pass rush, in my opinion.
Right.
Pass rush and the offensive line. And both of those failed.
Yeah, you're right.
Both of those failed on Sunday.
No pressures or sacks
No.
on Jake Browning, and Gardner Minshew was kind of running for his life, right?
And in fairness to that secondary, Jake, it's very hard for Darrell Baker Jr. It's very hard for a veteran Pro Bowl level player to deal with Higgins and Chase.
Right.
When you throw a guy out there who under most circumstances would not be starting in the NFL, it's an even bigger problem.
I thought that the Colts-Bengals game felt a little bit like the night before's Pacers-Lakers game that we just talked about. And the fact that they made some pushes to get back in it, and each time they did, there was an immediate answer, and you're like, oh, man, we're right back to square one here. You know what I mean? It just was a frustrating game where they were kind of chasing it the entire time.
They never got going.
Bernard Ryman, who's been a good player and has shown good growth, kind of a relapse is the wrong word, but he had a rough day. Henderson who's a great player, third, I think, in the league in sacks, was kind of had his way. That caused Quentin Nelson to have some breakdowns in terms of penalties. Zach Moss did not run the ball well, which is something they have done well to this point. It was not a great matchup. It was not a great game, and Jake Browning was a guy that maybe they didn't have a lot of tape on for whatever reason, but he was able to come out there, and we kind of wrote off Cincinnati. And now the Bengals are back. They're still kind of looking in the window here at the AFC. Now, Derek, the thing to me that is interesting with the Colts is the fact that you could look at it and you could say that, the Colts, the good news is everybody else of note lost. Jacksonville lost, Houston lost. But at the same time, you missed an opportunity there. Yeah. Now, Jacksonville, probably because of the tiebreaker, it's going to be tough anyway because you've got to – but the Jags kind of quietly are backpedaling here, right?
Yeah, but I mean, that's why last week was a careful what you wish for situation because now Cincinnati is ahead of you. And so that could potentially
and
be a
you have you've got a chance here with Pittsburgh to land a big punch at them. But if you lose to Pittsburgh, you're in real trouble.
If they lose, I mean, I would go. I'm not going to call it a playoff game, but I think their playoff odds are at 30% right now. They probably go down to like a 1 in 10 shot if you lose to Pittsburgh, honestly, just because it's so crowded.
They're not going to lose.
You know who's playing much better, who we haven't really talked about, is Denver.
Well, Denver for
Cleveland's
sure.
been pretty consistent, though. Cleveland's been a good team all year.
Denver might be the most consistent team in the last month and a half, right?
I mean, and Denver in the first 4 weeks looked like one of the worst teams in the league.
Right.
So it's very tough. You basically, let's say you give the division winners, even Jacksonville, let's say you give Miami, Baltimore, Jacksonville, who am I missing?
Talking about the division winners?
Yeah.
Kansas City?
Yeah, Kansas City. Let's say
who's also kind of backpedaling, right?
Let's say you give them those 4 spots, right? It's basically 7 teams for 3 spots. So it's Cleveland, Cincinnati, the Colts, the Texans, because you've got the Chargers, Raiders, Jets, and Titans all at 5 and 8. They're probably too far back at this point to make that up. I think, and I heard Rake say this on the postgame show, and I agree with him, the target all along has been to get to 10. But that requires a 3-1 finish, which I don't care who you're playing.
But who do they have left?
I mean, they've got Desmond Ridder and the Falcons. They have Mitch Trubisky and the Steelers.
That's in Atlanta, though.
Yeah. What's the other game?
Well, Houston.
I know you have Houston, but there's a game in there that I'm missing. Oh, the Raiders. Aiden O'Connell and the Raiders, who are not good. You got to go 3-1 in that stretch. I have a hard time believing that the 10-7 Colts are going to get left out.
Pittsburgh's the swing game, isn't it?
Yeah.
By the way, it's time for Love That Play, brought to you by the good guys at Love Heating and Air, love-hvac.com. Their website, 317-353-2141. You might have noticed, by the way, if you've been listening to this show or watching us for a long time, say, you know what? I think Love Heating and Air has been as consistent and as long-standing a sponsor as anybody with Corey and Schultz. That's because they believe in loyalty and they believe in family. These guys are like family to me. Chris and John Love, they've been loyal to me, but that's how they treat their customers. They are loyal to their customers. They'll treat you like family, whether it comes to getting your furnace up and running in the wintertime, getting your cooling system at home set for the summertime, or just simply their 24-hour on-call maintenance should something go wrong. That's what you get from Love Heating and Air. 4 generations deep, over 100 years of service in Central Indiana, dedicated to their customers and making sure that you are not only comfortable with the product in your home, but comfortable with the price as well. That's what you get from Love Heating and Air. Love-HVAC.com, 317-353-2141. Derek, our Love That Play, favorite play of the weekend is?
I wrestled with this because I feel like there's probably a better option. The Kelsey play to Tony that ended up not happening would
It
have
didn't
been
count,
an easy
Derek.
Love That
It didn't
play.
count.
But how cool was that?
Oh, great.
It was
Okay.
really cool. The amount of time and energy, not to get off track, the amount of time and energy that we put into what was a obvious penalty is crazy to me. Say what you want about, okay, well, he's supposed to check the line's supposed to tell him that he's offsides, whatever. Like, it was so blatant that
But here's the thing.
it's a penalty.
This is the thing, Derek. It is true that the official is to let the receiver know if they're lined up beyond the line. But he never checked. The receiver didn't look down. Usually you see the receiver do this. He didn't do that. So the official's like, well, I mean, you didn't look, you didn't ask, right?
I just can't believe, and I get that they've won 2 titles. I can't believe that you wouldn't really invest yourself in getting competent wide receivers.
Are we seeing, let me ask you this.
Why did they do it? Kadarius Toney, he stinks. Like, he's awful.
Let me ask you this, Derek. Are we starting to see, do you remember the most controversial thing I've ever said in the history of
that
our
the
show?
Warriors are going to become unlikable. Yeah. When they were, like, at their peak of likability.
And people were like,
they went crazy.
And there was that backlash.
Yeah.
It's kind of come back. Is Kansas City entering into the backlash territory?
I'll read you a tweet from our buddy Garrison Carr, who I know watches this show. This Toney play in the aftermath, I think, might just be what finally turns me against the Chiefs, Mahomes, their fans. They were cool as hell. Then they spent 24 hours being completely unhinged over the most comical, obvious, correct thing. And he's right. Yeah, I think there's definitely some fatigue. And people don't like it when it's like when LeBron complains about a call. Mahomes whining about it. People don't like it when star players feel entitled for things to go their way. So I think, yes, I'm not going to say that there's like a nationwide tidal wave of hate for the Chiefs right now, but the foundation is cracking. And Kelsey, Kelsey, I really like. He's freaking everywhere. I hear about Travis Kelsey all the time, and there's a natural fatigue that comes with that because of the relationship with Taylor Swift. But I did Ronnie Harrison's pick six was the play of the week.
Yeah, that's cool. I would say
gave the Colts a chance.
We're going back beyond the weekend, but since the last time we were together, and I know it's easy to forget this now. The Tyrese Halliburton 4-point play against
that was ours last week.
Was that last week?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was
it was
Monday
the Monday
night.
night game.
That was Monday night.
It was the Monday night game against
You're
Bulls.
right.
Yeah.
Then I would say the other would be the way they closed out against Milwaukee. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Would be just kind of a totality.
Well, he had
of that
another
play.
dagger three in that game.
But yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
The
It's
step
a dagger
back,
three
right?
every game. Yeah, it feels like.
But yes, the pick six was a much needed play for the Colts to get them back in the game, but probably for him as well, right? Just to kind of get a spark again going for him, who started out well in his career, and he's got athleticism clearly.
Yeah, and now a second splash play when, no offense to Shaquille Leonard, I know he was kind of toughing it out and wasn't the same player, but he made 0 splash plays.
How did he look against Philly
I
against
don't even
Dallas?
know. Yeah, I don't even know.
He's out there.
Yeah, I didn't watch 1 second.
Why not?
Of that game. You know what? I actually watched both of the finishes because they were so wild of Giants, Packers, and Titans, Dolphins last night.
May I ask a really dumb question?
Yeah.
Almost embarrassed to ask it.
Here, let me give you this pretext, and then you can maybe be less embarrassed. At this point in my life, 40 years old, I've got a 6 turning 7-year-old soon. We've got sports. I've got work. I've got this. I very rarely watch any non-Colts NFL games.
Okay.
Very rarely.
So then you might be in my...
Now, I tuned in for the end of the Chiefs game, and I watched both Monday night games, but I very rarely watch like a full 3.5-hour Chargers-Bills game.
Okay. I'm embarrassed to ask this. I probably should know this. Like, people are going to really jump.
Then don't say it. Then don't even.
Why were there 2 Monday night games last night?
I'm assuming because there's not one on Christmas, so they wanted to fit 2 together. What I don't understand
is that what it was?
Why wouldn't you do an East Coast West Coast game then? Why would you make them both start at 8:15?
Well, because then you get into the whole Tupac and Biggie thing, and it's...
That was like 30 years ago.
I know, but you don't want to start those. But no, I honestly though, last night I was somewhere and I looked up and I see the Dolphins Titans.
Yeah.
And then to my right, I'm seeing like the Giants scoring a touchdown, and I'm like, are they showing highlights of, because Giants Packers is a game that would have gotten buried on Sunday.
I think it's Christmas is on a Monday, so I think that's why they did it that way.
Okay.
I don't know that, but I think that's probably the case.
Also, let's just mention this real quick. My cousin should get, my cousin Brad and his wife Jenny. I don't know if their daughters Bianca or Beja were there, but Brad and Jenny live in Henderson, Nevada, natives of Las Vegas. Brad's lived there his entire life. My uncle Dwayne was in the Air Force. They get the gold star of the week. We don't even have a segment called the Query and Schultz Gold Star.
We can make one.
But if they're they should get it. You know why?
Why's that?
They sat through in person all 4 quarters of the Vikings-Raiders game.
Oh, God.
3-0.
Texans-Jets was 0-0 at half, too. The NFL offense is
what's going on?
Really bad. Yeah. Well, it's all the backup quarterbacks, I think, is part of it, but it's bad. It was trending that way last year. Last year there was some bad offense.
But they started coming up with, the league is designed to be passer friendly, and now all of a sudden nobody can move the ball, right?
Can I mention something because you mentioned Biggie and Tupac? I think I've told you this before, but summer of '96, every photo of me is doing this. I was summer of '97, because Pac died in '96. Biggie died in March of '97, and that was like the height of East Coast to West Coast. So West Coast was this,
okay,
and then East Coast was this. And being in suburban Connecticut, I was firmly East Coast. I didn't listen to Death Row. I had Dre's Chronic, and I threw it away. Is that weird? I threw it in the garbage. Because I was like, I'm with Bad Boy, I'm with Puffy and Locks and Mace and Biggie, God rest his soul, and all of that. So I didn't listen to Snoop or Dre or anything like that for like a 3-year stretch. Now I kind of go back and I enjoy some of that West Coast stuff.
You were how old in '97?
I was 14.
And you're doing what in the photos? Like photos, what kind of photos? Like with your buddies?
Like we're at the lake, Diamond Lake in Michigan, where we used to kind of vacation when we go up to South Bend, and I'm on an inner tube and I'm just doing this. Like the whole time I'm holding the rope in one hand, I'm looking at the camera doing this. Yeah. Like we were at like Disney and
what did your parents think of this?
They didn't really say anything.
You should have done this.
Yeah. What was the L for?
Okay.
Is that a gang?
Are you not? It's your gang.
You mean Big L rest in peace? Because Big L was West Coast and he was gunned down too, or East Coast and he was gunned down too.
You're not a fan of Smash Mouth?
Put it on, Big L. Put it on. Come on, put it on and on and on.
I thought you liked Sublime.
I did like Sublime. That's a different genre of music though. Like I was.
But they're West Coast, right?
There was no West Coast.
You got to be consistent.
I wasn't.
You got to be consistent, Derek.
No. I wasn't shut down to all West Coast music, just West Coast death row, hip hop,
You got to be
anything from
consistent.
Suge Knight.
Nope.
Anything from Suge Knight. So I hated Ice Cube. I hated all that stuff. Anything, even like the NWA, even the stuff that was grandfathered in, I didn't like.
What about Slick Rick?
Because real hip hop, it's kind of like basketball. Real hip hop and real basketball started in New York City.
Too Short? You like Too Short?
No.
Slick Rick?
No.
Slick Rick's East Coast.
No, I did not before my time though. He wasn't part of this.
Run DMC?
He wasn't part of this. No, because they more than the West Coast acts, sure, but they're not part of this. You're a generation beforehand.
Beastie Boys.
No, Jake. Here's the thing, and Beastie Boys are New York, obviously too. Yeah, you don't understand because they were not
Dougie
parties.
Fresh? Dougie Fresh?
They were not parties to this. You're talking like a whole 10 years, 7, 8, 10 years.
Third base.
Before this. No. It's
Third
not
base is Queens.
No. Yes, they're East Coast, but it's not the same. They're not 90s East Coast rap.
Not 90s East Coast rap. When do you think Third Base was out?
No. They're not like the 90s era.
Yeah, Gasface, 90.
No.
Brooklyn Queens, 90.
No, Vanilla Ice is not 90s. The 90s era of rap.
Vanilla Ice is the very first #1 rap song on the Billboard charts. When was it?
The
1990.
90s era of East Coast rap. Okay. Everyone knows this. It's a scientific fact. 1994 to 1997. That is the 90s era of East Coast rap.
So allow me to ask this. Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
Yes or no? In the realm you're talking about.
In the lesser West Coast realm, yes, he would have been 90s rap in that era.
So,
yeah.
What's My Name came out in 92, 93. Chronic came out in 93.
Yeah, 93 to 97.
You just said 94 to 97. Be consistent.
93, parts of 93. Scholars differ on when the exact start time is, but the hard out is 97. Hard out's 97, because kind of after that, you had like Jay-Z come in and all this other stuff, and hip-hop started talking about money and being on boats and things like that. They weren't talking about the issues that were really affecting us, like in suburban Connecticut and some of these other places that I really connected with.
What possibly could you and Biggie Smalls have connected with other than a lazy eye?
I did have it got corrected over time. So I did have a lazy eye. Thank you for bringing it up on the show in a mean way.
Factual?
I would, when we go over the Queensboro Bridge, I'd see Nas's housing project that he grew up in. So I was able to connect with that music because I was able to kind of see what he came from. He and I were kindred spirits when it came to that.
You were going over the bridge to go to where?
Into Manhattan.
From where?
LaGuardia.
Yeah, that bonds you together right there, no doubt about it.
Yeah, you don't understand because you grew up in, I don't know, did anybody rap about Old Spaghetti Factory? I'm trying to think of like what would have resonated with you with where you grew up in 1980s.
Mellencamp did a video from Bob Knight Basketball School, Derek. Come on now. You think things don't relate to me? Have you not been to a Pacer or Colts game?
We come back on the show. Quick hits. College basketball roundup. Also, a hilarious thing that happened to Jake, something that he just cannot escape himself from. Even without me, this has nothing to do with me.
Okay.
But it's still a thing. We'll talk about it. We come
Derek's
back.
going to get me fired is what we're
It's Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
IUPUI basketball is back. Come witness history with head coach Matt Crenshaw inside Indiana Farmers Coliseum and head coach Kate Bruce inside the Jungle as they usher in a new era of Jaguars athletics. Be there for exciting Horizon League and in-state matchups. Affordable fun for the whole family. Full season tickets are now on sale starting as low as $80. Order today at IUPUIJags.com/tickets. or call 317-278-2530. Work hard, make noise, have fun. Go Jags.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
Welcome back. Bailey & Wood presents Query and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network. Thanks so much for joining us alongside Jake Query. My name is Derek Schultz. Before we get to quick hits and before we even get to the college basketball roundup, if you are a former radio listener of this show, and we have some people that still have kind of migrated over, right, to this side of things, you know that this was actually a running joke. It was insulting at first, and then it became part of the cultural fabric.
It wasn't insulting to me. It bothered you a great
deal. The Query
deal.
and Schultz radio show. They always did the Queer Channel and then into iHeart holiday Christmas party between 3 and 7 p.m. Those were the hours.
It was unbelievable.
Those were the hours. We were on the air. We were the only live show in the building. Only live show on between 3 and 7 because everybody else could, gunner in the afternoon, could voice track.
Right.
They could record it and then they could go. Bob and Tom obviously were live in the morning. All the other DJs were on it at different times. And one year it was at, was it Morton's or Sullivan's?
I think it was at Morton's.
And he's retired now, and a great guy who hired both of us, changed our lives, the whole deal, saved you from unemployment. Rick Green gave us one of those styrofoam to-go boxes with like half a steak each. You remember? Like we split a filet.
Yeah.
And a gift card because he felt bad, and it actually made me feel even worse that I got half of a cold steak from their holiday party. Guess when the Urban One, so Jake's new parent company for
and yours too,
1075. I guess I'm technically an employee there. Guess when their holiday party is? I just got the email yesterday. 12 to 3. Guess when Jake's on the air? 12 to 3. So I laughed out loud. My wife was like, "What are you doing?" Because I'm in the kitchen and I start laughing, and she's in the living room. And I said, Jake's going to miss his holiday party again because it's during his exact time
I would
slot.
assume that they did this so that they can do it over an extended lunch period for everybody and then take the afternoon off, I'm assuming.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious that actually kind of follows you around. Let's talk college hoops. Purdue, I thought, was important to survive that three-point barrage because there are a lot of teams that think that they've got it all figured out against Purdue, right? Okay, all we have to do is just make a boatload of threes and get it done. And Alabama made a boatload of threes. I mean, they shot, at one point, they were shooting like 75, 80%.
It's amazing, yeah.
From three, and they still couldn't win. So I think that's good news for Purdue. It'll end up being their fourth quad one win because they've beaten all these teams on neutral floors, so that helps them. And they got number 1 Arizona Saturday at the Fieldhouse, which is going to be a really fun doubleheader because the appetizer for that game is Ball State ISU, and they're both off to really great starts.
Yeah.
ISU's 9-1 and Ball State's 8-2. I feel bad for Indiana fans. Indiana has, and this is coming from an alum and a former, I guess, fan who was very emotionally involved. They have a tremendous, dedicated national fan base. They go everywhere. Indiana could play a neutral site game in Olympia, Washington, and there would be people there. And they would take over that building.
My college roommate from IU lives in Olympia.
They had a massive gathering in Atlanta, which is, I've always heard is a hub for IU alums. I don't know why.
Really?
But I think Atlanta has the second largest alumni association outside of Chicago.
Okay.
I might be wrong. That might be dated from 20 years ago.
It's a hub for a region, though.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But there are a lot of IU alums that are in Atlanta, and they got run out of the building. Like, Auburn's good. Don't get me wrong. I don't think Auburn's Final Four good or anything like that, but they're good. They undressed IU in that game. Indiana, if Indiana makes the tournament, this is a good year. Like, people want to.
But how many years are we going to say that, Derek?
People want to say they've got this 5-star and that 5-star.
Indiana got 3 of them on the roster, right?
Indiana has too many net negatives. They have too many guys that don't do anything, that don't bring anything to the table. Their guard play stinks.
Name some.
Here's what I'll say. Trey Galloway is a nice player. If Trey Galloway, you're relying on Trey Galloway is a great player if he's your third guy off the bench. If you're relying on him to be like a frontline player, like he's not that level of player. Gabe Cupps is not ready. CJ Gunn is not ready. They could be good, and I'm confident that they will be good, but they're not. Caleb Banks, like those guys, they're not ready to be thrown into high-profile type roles. And it's great that Khalil Ware has been even better than advertised, right?
Yeah,
I think he's been really good. I think the world of Malik Renew.
Mbako's starting to kind of get going here a little bit.
But you can't have bad guard play, and you can't get through making 3 or 4 threes a game. That's just not a way to live it. It's not modern basketball.
I mean, Derek, my worry
it's Archie Miller.
My worry for Indiana is what's going to happen when they go against Kansas.
Yeah.
Because
hopefully the crowd fuels them. You would think that would. I think the Assembly Hall crowd alone for a big game is probably worth 7 or 8 points.
Yeah.
But is that enough? Is 7 or 8?
Kansas
It wouldn't have been against Auburn.
They're so long and fast. They move the ball around so fast. They collapse quickly defensively. They're all like 6'7" with 7-foot wingspans. I mean, it's legit what they're about to see.
I just think that
now they may beat them. I mean, I've seen it before. Like Kansas came in with a very ballyhooed team with Ostertag and that group, and Indiana blew them off the floor in '95. I mean, stranger things happen.
Indiana's roster, it has talent. The pieces just aren't quite ready to fit together yet. They're just not a finished product, and I don't think anybody was expecting them to be. And
Derek,
I don't think it's fair to expect them
at some
to be.
point. And I listen. I don't want to be this guy, but I will. I'll say it now. Okay, I don't think I'm alone in this. Indiana, there's a lot about the Indiana program that feels good with Mike Woodson at the helm. It feels good, in particular this year, within the last month or so, to have a guy that played for Bob Knight with the keys to the kingdom. That feels good. It feels good to have a guy that grew up in Indiana, that played at Broad Ripple High School, that played for Indiana, to have the keys to the kingdom. That feels good. And it feels good to have a guy that has NBA ties so that when he goes into the home of a 5-star player like Mackenzie Mbako, or he's getting a transfer like Khalil Ware, or he's getting Malik Renew that came with Jalen Hood-Schifino, essentially. It feels good to know that a guy like that can go in and say, if you want to get to the league, let me show you my track record and the people that I know in the league that can help you there. That feels good. What doesn't feel good is the question marks about in-game adjustments for Indiana, and then afterwards, even though Mike Woodson doesn't owe it to the media that's there or the fans to divulge exactly what his game plan or his decisions or his adjustments were, but when routinely the answer after the game is, I just got to get these guys to play better. Well, it's like 3 years now of saying that.
Yeah.
So at some point, if we're 3 years into it and you're still not figuring out how to get them to play better, maybe they just don't want to play better. And that's an area of concern. And while there's a lot to love about Mike Woodson and the things that you love outweigh the negatives, there is, I think, some increasing whisper of, is this truly from an X's and O's standpoint the right guy? And I like Mike Woodson a great deal. I don't have, and maybe he was the best fit in that situation. But at some point, you've got to start showing some acumen as well in addition to the way you're building your roster.
The hope that I've always had for Woodson is that he stabilizes the program and then somebody else comes in and takes it to the next level. And I still think he's on track to do that. I'm not worried about him. Mike Woodson knows more basketball than we could, or forgotten more basketball than we could ever know. There are 2 bad habits that he has from the NBA that don't translate to college, though, and I think it's his use of timeouts, and I think his substitution patterns are too NBA-centric.
Correct.
You can't do line changes, and you can't worry about, we can't play him 38, 39, 40. Yeah, you can. Zach Edey and Braden Smith just played 38 minutes out of 40 against Alabama. You can play these guys that long. You don't have to worry about minutes restrictions and all of that stuff like you do in the NBA. Carmelo Anthony's not going to want to play 30 minutes. Or 38 minutes in a, or I guess, 48, whatever it is, in a December game.
What do you think, Carmelo? What's Carmelo Anthony doing now?
Probably just chilling, right? Is he out in L.A. Is he still with Lala, the old MTV personality?
That was like 6 weeks, wasn't it?
They dated a long time. I don't know if they're still together or not. Are they married?
Where do you think he lives?
I thought he lived out west for some reason. Even though he's a Maryland and East Coast guy.
Oh, there you go again.
Yeah, I don't know if he was doing these signs.
Does that make him a traitor?
Summer of 97 or anything. Other basketball, Butler, survives Cal in overtime. They have the chance to wrap up their non-league at 9-2 before opening Big East play next week. Dogs off to a good start. I think there's a lot to like. I know I was kind of hard on Indiana for that Auburn game. They're 2-0 in Big Ten games.
In 2021.
Okay. They're 2-0 in Big Ten games, albeit against very mediocre Maryland and Michigan squads who are, Maryland's a chronic underachiever and Michigan Michigan is just a freaking mess right now.
Sorry about that.
But I think overall you can be pleased with some things that you've seen from Indiana. You could certainly be pleased with what Purdue's done. Butler looks a heck of a lot better, and then you've got Indiana State and Ball State playing competent basketball again. So I think there's a lot to like with what you've seen.
Carmelo, by the way, has not made any public statements regarding his current relationship status.
Couple of quick hits. Congratulations to Dylan Thieneman, the former Westfield star, Purdue freshman phenom, earned third-team All-American honors despite just being a freshman. He was the Big Ten's Freshman of the Year. He led all freshmen nationally in interceptions, tackles, and forced fumbles.
That's easy.
Looks like a really, really good player that Ryan Walters and his staff was able to get. Shohei Ohtani deferring major money, $68 million of his $70 million.
Okay, can I get one thing straight for people? Yeah. This is not a tax thing. People that are like, see, he's smart because he's deferring this money and then he doesn't have to pay California taxes. I don't care if it's not until 2050 that he pays the taxes. It is based upon where the money, what you were doing when the money was earned. He's going to have to pay the taxes in California at some point.
Yeah. And I don't think he cares because he makes $45 million per year in endorsements alone. So right. I don't think he cares about taking the $2 million. But the next CBA, they're going to have to address this because there are other teams that can't possibly be happy about this.
But here's my concern for about the Dodgers. Everybody's like all gung ho. Oh my gosh, Ohtani and Mookie Betts and that roster, they're unbelievable. Well, he just got done playing with Mike Trout, right? Yeah. There's no 1-2 combo that's going to be better than Ohtani and Mike Trout, right?
That Dodgers lineup is much, much better than the Angels lineup.
I get it.
I get what you're saying. I mean, they've got it's Betts and Freeman. I mean, it's ridiculous what they're going to put on the field.
I like the people that are like, well, now he's finally in a market where we can see him play, and I'm like, do you know where the Angels are?
Yeah, it's the same exact thing. He's with a bigger brand, but he's in the same exact market, essentially.
You think he kept his house?
Still, what I would argue, and I know people are mad at the Dodgers,
right?
The big problem in baseball is not the Dodgers, it's the Mariners. It's the teams that are actively selling off pieces, or Cleveland, that are just not interested in spending to get better at all. Those are the teams that are the problems. People making fun of San Diego for selling off some of their pieces. At least San Diego tried. San Diego gave it a shot. Those other teams aren't even giving it a shot. We come back on the show, IUPUI Jags report. We got the beanie, right? Yep, the beanie's right there. We're going to talk about the beanie. Chateau Kitchen's Biter Bowl Bleep, and we'll wrap up episode 165. Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Hey, AC.
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Welcome back to Query and Schultz. My name is Jake Query. Derek Schultz is to my left, and I am wearing the IUPUI Christmas snow cap toboggan torque beanie.
Toboggan, yeah, snow hat, snow cap, whatever you want to call it. Kudos to the women's basketball game team. Cheers.
How's that?
I guess I should say.
How's my ho ho ho?
That's pretty good.
Thank you.
They got back on the winning side of the ledger with a wire-to-wire win over Evansville. Katie Davidson led all scorers with 26. She went 8 of 15 from the floor. How about that? Faith Stinson recorded her first double-double as a Jaguar as well. Women's Hoops home Friday, hosting Eastern Michigan at 7 inside the Jungle for their last home game in December. Men's basketball, unfortunately, came up a little bit short against EIU. They fell to the Panthers 75-58. Jalen Counter continues to have a really good season. He had 19 points in a losing effort. Jags in action tonight. In fact, while you're watching this right now, they're probably in the barn at Minnesota. They'll return home for a game Saturday inside Indiana Farmers Coliseum at noon against Lindenwood. So both of those games, the women's game in the Jungle and the men's game against Lindenwood at the Farmers Coliseum, are part of the IUPUI Holiday Hoops Weekend. First, Hundo fans in attendance at those two games will receive Jake's beanie. Rake, do we want to have Jake and I autograph that, and we can give that?
Derek, we don't want to.
Because you'll be there, right, Greg?
Look.
Yeah.
I was in the Coliseum recently.
I think I have
went to a Fuel game, right? Fabulous venue. I mean, historic venue, super cool, and you get the chance to watch college basketball, Division I college basketball, teams that theoretically could be playing for an NCAA tournament at some point. and a lot of local players and a guy that coached at IUPUI. I have always said, and I will continue to say, when I was a kid, for example, I loved, with a capital L, loved going to Division I athletics around the area because my parents didn't go to college, but it was their way of introducing me to the college culture and lifestyle. It is a win situation to take young people in particular to the family-friendly environment of college athletics at a historic venue like the Coliseum. What are you doing?
I thought I had a Sharpie to autograph that beanie.
Derek, this beanie's super comfortable. I mean,
oh, do you want a Purdue lapel pin? I forgot I had these.
Like, there's no way I'm ruining the value of this beanie by signing it. This is a really comfortable hat.
Do you want some hand sanitizer? Ooh, I forgot that I put these in here in like 2020. N95s?
We only have like a couple of minutes left here, right?
Sorry, I thought I had a Sharpie here.
Okay, we'll get to it.
We will autograph that beanie.
No.
And get it to Greg and get that whole thing figured out. Chateau Kitchens Biter Bobley brought to you by our friends at Chateau Kitchens. At Chateau Kitchens on Instagram and on Facebook for before and after pictures. ChateauKitchens.com. Phase 2 of my basement. It's basically phase 1 3/4 is done. This is like the last little punch out. They're doing a desk and to finish the final portion of the project is
for all the at-home work you do?
Starts in February. Yeah, I work remotely. I'm not sure if you know that, so I kind of need my own little office space in there. Hang up all the pictures of you and me with like Mario Andretti and all the great memories that two best friends who love each other had together on the radio.
Yeah, Mario
Chateau
and I are
Kitchens
close. That's correct.
Makes that a reality. Chateau Kitchens makes that a reality for you as well. Give them a call. Visit them online, ChateauKitchens.com. Here's what we do with Chateau Kitchens Biter Bobley. I give a statement. Jake and I go back and forth, whether we bite or it's Bobley. Statement 1. Season's a failure for the Colts if they miss the playoffs. Biter Bobley.
No, Bullschultz. This season was all about, from the beginning, developing Anthony Richardson. He got hurt, so then it became a matter of getting comfortable in continuity of the players that are going to be around him. They got Jonathan Taylor in long-term. They got a good look at what Zach Moss could do. We'll see if he returns. They have given plenty of look to their tight ends. They got to find out which one is going to be the one that's the safety net there. And their line at times has found some continuity. They've been able to inventory the players around them. So success.
I think you have to take the preseason expectations into account, right? When you're, even though things changed over the course of the year, and the Colts were in a very advantageous spot last week and took a big chunk out of that by losing to Cincinnati. No, the season's not a failure. 2021 was a failure, okay? Like that was a year where you got Wentz and you expected to kind of move forward, and you collapsed at the end of the year, had that embarrassing no-show in Jacksonville in the final game. Like, that's a failure. I would be disappointed if they didn't make it, because I think they're good enough to be there. But yeah, failure is way too strong. 4 teams from the state of Indiana will make the NCAA tournament. Biter Bowl Bleep.
Indiana.
Okay.
Purdue. Indiana State.
Yeah. Butler.
Chirp, chirp.
Yeah, okay. Butler or Butler.
4.
I mean, I don't think Indiana's a guarantee. The only 2 on there to me that are, well, the only one on there to me that's definitely going to go is Purdue.
Yeah.
Season ended today. They would
Indiana State's playing well, Derek.
I'd love to say yes. I'm going to say no. I think it'll be 3. Okay. I think they'll end up getting
Indiana
3.
State, the Mo-Val, you're probably going to get 2.
And I don't quite know about Butler.
Tough league.
Thanks to all of our great sponsors, Chateau Kitchens, Chili Water Brewing, Hoagies and Hops, IUPUI Athletics.
Love Heating and Air.
Bailey and Wood Financial Group. For Vince, for Greg, for Jake, I'm Derek. Happy holidays. Last show of 2023 next week here on Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
IUPUI basketball is back. Come witness history with head coach Matt Crenshaw inside Indiana Farmers Coliseum and head coach Kate Bruce inside the Jungle as they usher in a new era of Jaguars athletics. Be there for exciting Horizon League and in-state matchups. Affordable fun for the whole family. Full season tickets are now on sale starting as low as $80. Order today at IUPUIJags.com/tickets or call 317-278-2530. Work hard, make noise, have fun. Go Jags.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
Throw it up for Tillman.
Whoa.
My goodness.
122.60 for Penn.
What a swim!